I know you guys all know and love the weekly spread, but we're not doing the weekly spread anymore. We're doing this. For the first half of this year, I was living basically Sunday to Sunday on an immaculate, time to the minute weekly schedule. I worked 8:30 to 5 at my office job every single day of the work week. And then on Mondays after work, I had therapy. On Tuesdays, I went to the gym. On Wednesdays, I saw friends. Thursday was date night. Friday was movie night. Saturday, YouTube and side hustles all day. Sunday, chores, gym, watching exactly one episode of a TV show. I woke up before work to script, get an extra gym session in, get an extra hour of work done, and I got burned out. I recently made a video about setting up your ideal weekly schedule, and I got a lot of comments from you guys saying things like, when does she eat? What about your chores? All that kind of stuff. In that video, I was encouraging you guys to really look at the time you had available and to be honest with yourself about how little precious time you had for yourself at the end of the day. But what I ended up creating for myself was a weekly schedule that was just as overcrowded and full to the brim as before, but with self-care taking up as much time as watching a TV show or working on side hustles instead. And as I tried to live and work in that overcrowded weekly schedule, I realized I was just trying to live and work at the same fast pace as I was before. So we are back with something different. This time, we're taking it slow. So the first thing to know when creating an ideal biweekly schedule is that we are actually not going to be as granular as we were when we were making a singular weekly schedule. When you get into the weekly, you get into often hour by hour schedules like I have here in my Hobonichi cousin. This is the week that I came up with when I was doing my ideal weekly schedule in my previous video. And as you can see, it's hour by hour, moment by moment. And that worked for me at a time period, or I thought it worked for me at a certain time period. But this is not going to be as helpful because the point of living bi-weekly is to create space for yourself to breathe. So being granular, not going to be as helpful. We want to think more generally. So actually, when we plan this, we're not going to be planning it in a weekly view such as this. We're going to be going back to a monthly spread, and I have an old Hobonichi cousin here, so I'm just going to be using a monthly spread that I haven't yet filled out. In the cousin, you can use like a sample monthly that you just print out on paper. You can look at this for next month. You can plan in those spare months that a lot of planners have. However you want to do it is fine. But we're going to come back to this in just a second because the first thing we want to do is we actually want to make a couple of lists. So you guys probably saw this coming. I do love myself a good list, and it would not be a Rachel in Theory video if we were not making lists about what we need to get done. But we're going to make a few lists, and the first one we're going to make is a list of everything we need to do on a monthly basis, and then we're going to make a list of everything we need to do on a bi-weekly basis. So I've already done this in advance of this video, and you'll notice I'm not getting as specific as I was getting in my previous list in terms of non-negotiables and things like that. I wanted to be pretty general, pretty wide looking, and just sort of knock out everything that I needed to get done on a routine basis to keep my life functioning. So let's start with the monthly list first. The monthly list is everything that you need to do on about a monthly basis. So for you, it might be like getting gas or doing a big grocery haul or something like that. My particular list covers a spa appointment. Been recently experimenting with spa appointments as a way to sort of decompress, and it's working. So I have a monthly day or evening set aside for that. The second thing that I need to do is pay my bills and budget. This is also an activity I do with my partner who lives with me. I need to do some sort of apartment deep clean. I am not so good at keeping up with chores in my household, to be honest, so I need to enshrine some time in a month in order to get this done, or I simply won't get it done. I've listed like about how long I would think it will take, which is about 4 hours, and then also what specifically I need to look at, which is like the fridge, the bathrooms, and then also my makeup tools. I'm very bad at cleaning my makeup brushes. Anyway, so those are just some problem areas that I've listed out, which won't actually go into our calendar when we set it up, but good to know what the purpose is. I also need to film, so I have been blocking out like a weekend to film the majority of content that you guys see here on YouTube. It's not absolutely everything. Some stuff is time sensitive and blah, 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 but I can typically expect to spend at least one weekend out of the month filming, and I need to enshrine that. I also need to set aside some time for radar, which is what my partner and I call our monthly meeting. So we have a monthly meeting where we just set out a certain agenda of things we need to talk about, and then we go through it all. Usually it takes about 3 hours. It's quite a hefty meeting, but super, super highly recommend if you don't already do some sort of regularized meeting with the people you're in relationships with. If you're in deeper romantic relationships or cohabitating relationships, I really, really highly recommend doing something like that. And then I also would like to set aside some time for some freezer meal prep. I don't get to this every month, and to be honest, I don't do pretty much any of the cooking in my household, so this is not like super critical for me if I don't get to it. My partner does most of the cooking, and so I don't really need to think about that, but I do like to occasionally set aside time to make sure that I have some stuff stocked in the freezer in case he's not available to do that or doesn't feel like it or whatever. So this is my monthly list. It's pretty short and sweet, and that's because most of the stuff that goes on for me in my life and in this bi-weekly schedule video is taking place on my bi-weekly list. So for your bi-weekly list, it's a little bit different than creating a weekly list or a monthly list. You want to write down everything you need to do on a timeline that is 2 weeks or less. So when you're thinking about your monthly list, it's like 2 weeks or more. So some of these I might like to do every 3 weeks. Like maybe I find myself wanting to go to the spa every 3 weeks. That's fine, doesn't matter. At least once a month though, I want to do it. For the bi-weekly list, this is everything that you want to do in a time span of 2 weeks or less. So some of these are weekly tasks that I need to get done. For example, I have YouTube working sessions. I want to do 2 to 4 of them during a bi-weekly period. I have laundry that needs to be done every single week. I need to change the sheets every single week. I need to do movement 6 times per bi-weekly schedule. So I have like mathed these things out for how many times I need to see them in a given bi-weekly time period. So I really want you to think about here what things can be moved on a bi-weekly basis. So for example, in my ideal weekly schedule, I previously had that my partner and I watched a movie every single Saturday. To be honest, that has not been happening, and it really has not been working. And I know we both love movie night, but we have so much going on individually and together that enshrining a whole night a week can sometimes feel like a lot. In my bi-weekly schedule, I have just 1 movie night per 2 weeks. If I get the chance, if we have free time and we get to do it on a weekly basis, that would be great. If not, it's okay if we just do it. Make sure to do it on a routine that is at least frequent enough that we feel like we're hitting that moment of quality time that we really love to spend together, but we don't necessarily feel like it's becoming more of a chore than it is a privilege and a joy to do. And pay attention to what's working and what's not working, right? If you do laundry every single week, it might feel like good. It might feel like you're on a good rhythm. It's perfect. It's easy. If it is working, don't change it. But if it isn't working, if you feel overwhelmed when you get to laundry day, make it bi-weekly. Stretch out the time for yourself. Yes, moving a task like laundry or like meal prep or anything where you're doing things with your hands and things like that and creating and cleaning and stuff, when you move it from weekly to bi-weekly, it is going to take longer. And you may want to consider that, like, is more laundry loads every 2 weeks worth it, or is fewer laundry loads every week a better system for you? But I really want you to think about it this way, because when we're moving things on a bi-weekly basis, we are trying to free up that time. And so it may mean dedicating longer hours to certain tasks so that you can free up more time on a given day or in your 2 weeks to do different things. Doing this part of the exercise is really going to encourage you to see time more slowly. We often live and die by our weekly patterns because that's a small unit of time that can be easily measured. It also repeats itself. Lots of today's society's rhythms follow this weekly schedule. So like church every Sunday, schools and workplaces often have like a Monday to Friday schedule, or plan out things that are routine. Like every Tuesday we have a team meeting or whatever like that. Often our society's rhythms are set up on a weekly basis, and it might feel tempting to not fight that and live everything on a weekly basis. But you can choose to stretch some of these tasks out and see time moving a little bit slower here. Yes, you're going to have some obligations, like every Tuesday we have a weekly team meeting that you can't really stretch out on a bi-weekly basis because it's an obligation to other people, but you can choose to do your resets and things like that once every 2 weeks instead of once every week, if that would create more space and more time for you. So ask yourself, what can you push to being on a bi-weekly schedule? What lights you up that you really want to do frequently, and what
can you be more realistic about and say, actually, I don't have the time on a weekly basis for this.
I want to hop in here real quick and thank today's sponsor, which is Playbook. It might not surprise you to learn that my digital space is kind of like my analog space. It's kind of messy. My Google Drive is basically a free-for-all at this point, and they don't give you that much space to work with, especially if you're dealing with like large video files and stuff like that. So I was thrilled to discover Playbook. Playbook is a free digital storage solution for creatives. Think like Dropbox meets Pinterest. All of your files can be stored in one beautiful place, ready to be tagged, itemized, shared, put on a website, or just viewed gallery style. I'm particularly fond of the Kanban view, which will automatically create a Kanban board of your files. You can move files from one column to the next super easily, so it automatically updates their status and you can track them through your workflow. I actually use this system for my YouTube thumbnails, but you can use it for anything. It's an awesome organized way to move from first draft to final product on multiple projects at once. You can throw almost any file type into Playbook. It plays nice with almost everything, and I cannot believe I haven't mentioned this yet, but they give you 4 terabytes of free storage. That's insane. And it's totally free. 4 terabytes, totally free. So if you want to join a thriving community of over 300,000 creatives, hit the link in my description to check it out. Okay, back to the video.
So we actually have 2 more lists that I'm going to have you guys make, because you may see some things that are not as enshrined here as they were on a ideal weekly schedule. For example, I had specific times where I wanted to journal. Journaling more was my goal. However, I've updated this to more of a general goal rather than a specific allotted time period for it, because what I found happened was I wasn't journaling at this hour of the day. I wasn't actually doing that. What I was doing was more micro journaling throughout my day when I got free time. So I've updated that and I've created another list, a bonus list, which basically is a do more of list. And I have 3 things: reading, journaling, and movement. And I have noted here what I want to replace with these more of activities, which is basically social media. Every time I get the instinct to reach for Instagram, I want to have a book and have my journal on me, essentially. So I'm working on those things. Yes, I do have movement enshrined in my bi-weekly list, and you'll see that when we put together our calendar. But generally, it can be on more than one list. But generally, I want to do more of these things, do less of social media, and make time for the things that I need to function. Lastly, the last list we're going to make before we get into it is a catch-all list. So I have these catch-all days that act as a dumping ground for things that I haven't done so far, as well as an opportunity to reset for the next time period. Michelle B on her channel, I really like her channel. She has these things called life admin days, and lots of other productivity gurus and people around the internet will use something like a life admin day or a weekly reset. You hear those kinds of things a lot. So I've just created a short list of things that I think need to get done in a given month, in a given bi-weekly period. And I will put these catch-all days in just as general time periods where I can like spend a lot of time doing them. Okay, now that we have all of our lists enshrined on sticky notes, we are going to actually set up our calendar. So I have my Hobonichi cousin here, and we're looking at our monthly calendar instead of our weekly calendar. You can go into your weekly and map out everything to the minute if you want, and I would encourage you to do that on like a weekly basis, however you want to do that. But for the purposes of living bi-weekly, we're going to be moving more slowly and thinking about time more broadly, so we actually don't want to plan down to every second when we're just setting up our ideal weekly schedule. Actually, to make this like work better, I'm going to do that trick. Have you guys seen that trick people do with like Hobonichi cousins because the binding is so good, where they just like flip it over? Oh my gosh, I can't believe that works so well. Okay, I just flipped it over. This is not related to the video, but I just flipped it over so that I can like have a surface to write on, because otherwise it was like there was not much of a surface to write on. I can't believe that worked so well. God, Hobonichi products are just good. All right, now that I have a sturdy surface to write on, I'm going to take a ruler, and this is just a straight edge like pencil board from Hobonichi, but you can use any ruler you have. So I'm gonna go ahead and block off the bi-weekly period with a black pen. Oh, actually I'm gonna get a thicker pen. Here we go. So that's just so we can see it a little bit cleaner. I'm using a Tombow. It's N15, it's just the black one. And I'm going to go ahead and block off the 2-week period so we can just visualize it really clearly. This also enables you to see your bi-weekly period on one page, which if you were doing it in a weekly, things could get lost from page to page since the weekly spreads only cover one week naturally. But this is going to enable us to see it all all together. Okay, so these are like now my weeks, so to speak. These are my time periods that I am blocking off. And another thing that I want to do, I've been experimenting with this a little bit in my common planner, which when I do my next flip through, I will go over with you. But the next thing that I want to do is I want to split up each day into daytime and nighttime. This is something that works for me because I have usually a daytime and nighttime activity. So I'm going to be splitting up the squares here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 squares. So I'm just going to do 3 for the evening and 4 for the daytime, since daytime can cover morning as well. You might want to split this up by 3s, so you have morning, evening, night. However you want to split it up is fine. For me, I tend to have one daytime activity and I tend to have one evening activity, but even if I have multiple things that need to go into these different areas, like I have 4 lines here in daytime, it's definitely enough for me to like have a morning and afternoon activity, and 3 in the evening is enough for me to have like multiple evening activities if that is the case. So I'm doing that for every single week just to give it some structure. I also have some handy sticky notes here for planning and pre-planning because some of these things I'm not going to be able to like enshrine on a particular day, so I'm going to be using sticky notes to like move things around. So I'm going to go through and pick out the things that are going to be done on specific weekdays and in routines so that I can just enshrine them in here. And then I will go through and add some things that I know are going to be like moving around, and I'll put those on sticky notes and I will put those in the weekly schedule. Okay, so things I know need to be on a weekly routine. All of these will be on specific days. Actually, you know what? Scratch this. Smash cut, I actually went back and erased all of the lines I just drew, and I drew them 1 box higher, specifically because the sticky notes I have will fit much nicer on the page if there's 4 boxes. They are about 4 boxes tall, and then they fit obviously in the morning spot just fine. So we're going to be using sticky notes for a lot of these. So for each of the different days, I'm going to be using sticky notes to just denote what I'm actually doing on those days, and that way we can move them around and play with them until we feel like we have something that we like. So for catch-all, I'm going to be using orange. For the monthly list, I'm going to be using green, and then for the bi-weekly list, I'm going to be using blue. So let me write out some things on some sticky notes really fast, and then we will get into it. All right, so as you can see, I have all of my things that I need to do out on sticky notes, and so now we're going to put them into my lists. So let's start with the things that are bi-weekly. So first of all, I do want to say I work every single day. So like the morning of Monday to Friday is going to be working, right? It's going to be at my office job. It's going to be my 9 to 5. It's going to be very traditional. So I'm going to go ahead and just write that on like directly on the weekly schedule. And this helps to see because I know that I'm not going to be planning in all of my YouTube time in the morning there because it's just not going to happen. But I am going to be planning in things in the evening and on the weekends. So let's start with things that I know for sure are going to happen, like are scheduled, which is therapy. So I have therapy every other week. So I'm going to put it down here in the evening. I also need to do laundry and change sheets. This is like my biggest chore. So I do that on Mondays already, and that's working for me. And I often will do that after therapy. So I have enough time down here on like a Monday to put laundry and changing the sheets in there as well. So I can do both of those things in the evening. So I'm going to put that there. I'm part of a like mastermind that I do every single week as well. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in. And I believe it's on the off week that I don't have therapy. So it's on that Sunday. These are things that I'm putting in that are like routine, right? That I do on a routine basis. So I also have a study group. So I'm part of an online course and we do like a study group meeting. We actually do that during the day on Mondays. So I will have like, I'll take my lunch break and I'll do that on my lunch break. So I'm going to put that up here knowing that I'm still like, it's obviously not going to take like the 8-hour workday, but it is going to be what I do during my lunch. And then we have a couple meeting. I try to do a couple meeting every couple of weeks with my partner. You'll also see that we have some other routines as well. Usually we do that on like a Wednesday. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it on Wednesday down here. And then I need a couple of date nights every single week. So I'm gonna go ahead and put those on Friday for now, because Friday is a great date night. We have a movie night that we like to do every week as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and put movie night there. And then there is time that I want to work on YouTube, but I also have these free spaces. So these free spaces and this YouTube stuff, generally I want to do like about 4 sessions like that. Oh my gosh, I forgot to write down movement. What am I thinking? So as you can see, I'm cutting these down and I'm just making little ones because honestly, I do movement during the work day a lot of the time. So I will go before work, usually on like Tuesdays, Wednesdays. Well, realistically, I actually go on Mondays. So this Monday's looking very busy indeed. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays are typically my day. I do them on my like not in office days because I have like the gym is really close to my house, and so when I'm in the office, it just doesn't make sense to try to do them when I'm in the office. And I'm in the office about 2 times a week, so my movement ends up being on the days when I typically work at home. So I'm almost always working at home on Mondays, but then the other days just change based on like who needs what and what schedule needs to be where. So I'm going to go ahead and put movement for now on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays because usually I'm in the office on Tuesdays and Fridays, not always though. So that's there. Movement is taken care of. And now I have this bi-weekly list of free spaces and YouTube work days. Let's put free spaces where we know there are free spaces. So free space there, for sure. I'm not going to do YouTube there. I can do YouTube on a weekend morning. Give myself a free space on a Thursday, and then we'll do YouTube on Tuesday. Okay, so you can see I have like very little, I have a couple of things Sunday morning to play with, and then a Wednesday night to play with in here. And that's pretty good for now. So I'm going to go ahead and replicate this onto the following bi-weekly schedule. Okay, so I have duplicated all of this down to this. So we can now see what's taking up my time on a monthly basis. And as you can see, I am enshrining free spaces and stuff like that here. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit because you can see that I have like a little bit of time on like a Wednesday evening or like a Saturday morning. We still have stuff to fill in for our like monthly sections. So when we're looking at these lists, those things are going to go there. So let's look at monthly. So I need to do a spa appointment once a month for sure. I'm going to do that, let's say on the 3rd week in my like sample monthly. So that's going to go there. An apartment clean will need to happen, and that is going to need to go on a weekend because it's going to need to take up a lot of time. So let's stick it there for now. Filming weekend is going to be a big one. So I have to film every single weekend. And typically when I film, I do like 2 days in a row. So I'll do Saturday and Sunday. So that's going to actually replace one of the YouTube working sessions, and that's fine. That's cool with me. Occasionally I will film on a different YouTube day, but probably like most of it's going to happen there. And then we have radar, so monthly meeting. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on the last Sunday. Well, do I want to do the last Sunday? Actually, I kind of want to save the last Sunday for like one of these resets. So I'm going to put this in the middle here, which is good. I'm like trying to figure out if it is actually good, but it is good. Well, okay, actually, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip-flop apartment clean and radar, because usually the weeks we radar, our couple meeting is a lot less intense. So I'm going to flip-flop those things. And then budget happens at the end of every month. So it'll probably be combined with a couple meetings. So I'm going to put that on the last couple meeting of every month, even though budget will move around because it needs to happen on the last day of the month. So I can't really predict exactly where it's going to go. And then I have extra meal prep in here, which nothing to do but put that into one of these weekend spaces, I guess. Again, this may or may not happen. I don't do a lot of the cooking in my household. I just want to try to do more. Okay, so let's talk about this. A monthly life reset / admin day. I think that kind of needs to go into a work day because I need to make phone calls. So people need to be at their businesses. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on this first Wednesday. And then a planning reset, that's always going to be the last one. It's always going to be the last one. Everything showers. These are not going to take up too much of my time, to be honest. Oh, you know what I need to do is I need to create more of these. So planning reset does need to happen on the last day of every single bi-weekly period. So I will be doing that then. Everything showers need to be done every single week. So I'm going to go ahead and put those on Sundays just so that they are there. Then everything shower makes sense there. And then lastly, I have a home reset. And I'm not seeing a ton of free time in here, actually, guys. You know what? I think I can sacrifice one of these YouTube days to have a home reset at the end of every month. especially because I'll get so much done on a filming weekend. I don't actually need the YouTube mornings, so I'm gonna move those. Yeah, I'm gonna sacrifice one of those. You know what, I can probably go without 2 of those. If I have one midweek sort of check-in on YouTube, then I can move that and do, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, we'll do like an apartment clean over here, and then this will just be kind of chill. Okay, so this is everything plotted out. And it might look like a ton of stuff to you. You might be like, what the hell? If we took away all these like free space days, I think you'd see stuff like free up quite a lot. And that's the goal. So let me just like demonstrate what that looks like for a second. If we remove all of these free spaces, you can see I actually have like kind of a lot of evening time to myself during the week. And these can be, you know, I can plan in hanging out with friends or just hanging out with myself, which honestly, a lot of these will be just like solo time. I'm also not doing something every day during my lunch, during the week, or every morning before work, which is going to really help. So I like to spend my lunches just not doing very much and just doing whatever I want to do, like usually reading or taking a walk. So that's gonna be nice to have that cleared up. And essentially I wanted to get the free space ones down because I wanted to like protect those, but looking at it without the free spaces in there, I can see what I have going on and it feels pretty good. Monday is gonna be like a beast every week, and that's okay. I kind of knew that was coming, especially on the weeks when I have therapy. But for the most part, this feels doable to me. So when you're setting up your biweekly schedule, I really encourage you to put in the free spaces just like so that you have those enshrined. Time for yourself, time for like connecting with others, like things that really make us feel human, basically. And then you can use this as a template for your weekly when you're setting up your weekly. You can open it up and go back to this template and say like, okay, it's Monday. I have to find time for these. Where can I find time for these on Monday? Or you can move these things around on a weekly basis. If you're just not going to have time to do laundry here, you can move everything like down a day or something like that. Viewing it more generally like this is going to help just like time seem a little bit longer. So like if I don't get to my monthly reset admin here, I have other times that I can in the future. Now, I recognize that we all are dealing with some things that are non-negotiable that other people control and influence in our lives. Like for me, it's not as demanding as it is for other people. I do work with other people on the YouTube channel, namely lots of sponsorships, and also I have an editor. So some of the YouTube stuff like is really time sensitive, and I do need to think about other people when I'm planning those in. Things like my couple meeting, budgeting, date nights. These things are things on my list that other people have a say in, but for you might have a really demanding work schedule or kids or something else that requires your attention to varying degrees and people who need you in various circumstances that you can't really move around. So when you're done here, take a moment to look at your biweekly schedule after you've made it and reflect on the things that you're doing for others. While you're doing this, make a mental note about like why you're doing these things for others. So I have a date night every single week. I have a movie night, and then I have like a couple meeting and our monthly meeting here, all enshrined because those are commitments that I have to others, but I really like the people that I'm doing those things with, and I want to keep doing them because it keeps the relationship up, right? So that's why I'm thinking I can block out Friday night every single Friday for a date night, for example. But most people do accept things on a bi-weekly basis. I think it feels longer than a week, but not too long. It's not like, oh, once a month, which can feel like quite a long time. For example, if I was only going on dates once a month with my partner, I think it would feel like not enough attention is being paid to the relationship for how intimate I want it to be. But for most people, the biweekly schedule makes sense. They understand it as a unit of time. It doesn't feel too different from a week. Yes, it is a longer time frame, but for the most part, it still feels frequent enough that it feels like you're touching all these areas of your life without being so overwhelmed and trying to fit it all into 1 week and burning yourself out, trying to repeat that cycle like 52 times a year. And in my opinion, this is actually going to create a lot more space for myself in my weekly schedule because, for example, if we take just this Sunday, for example, take this Sunday and we put it into a random weekly. I need to everything shower, I need to radar, I need to have a planning reset. So radar is probably going to take like 3 hours. So we can put it at noon. We'll block up noon to 1, 1 to 2, and a little bit after 2. Radar is going to take like 3 hours. Everything shower, honestly, will take like an hour, right? In the morning. And then a planning reset will take like an hour in the evening. And then I have all this extra time in my day to play with. So when we force ourselves to look at our bi-weekly schedule on this like tiny time frame, or I guess our monthly schedule, we're looking at on a monthly basis as well, we are forcing ourselves to put in the most important task in the small space. And then when we get to our weeks, we can really see like, actually, I do have so much breathing room around these things that I need to do. It really, really helps us feel like there's a lot of space between our activities, and again, see time on a longer time frame and make more breathing room in our lives for just existing, basically, or making sure we eat 3 meals a day, or making sure we're seeing the sun, right? Like, just things that we need to do to feel like we are alive and feel like we're not stressed. Building in that breathing room is really what this is all about. So this might look really chaotic and really intense, but when you try to put it into your week, I mean, let's just do this week with everything else. So apartment clean, that's going to take like 4 hours. It's going to take 4 hours, say. That's more than 4 hours, but just say it's going to take up the morning, right? And then we have movie night in the evening, and that's goes to like 10, maybe starts at like 5. So we have, again, more free space in there. We have like date night here, and then of course I work. Movement in the morning here, work again, nothing in the evening there. Couple meeting here, work. So you can see that translating what we just did with our days into our week actually still builds in like a lot of free time for us. Like, I have nothing going on at lunch for these 4 days, which means I can use it as personal time. I can have my own space. I have nothing going on here, which means I have a little bit of breathing room between cleaning the apartment and going to movie night. I can maybe get lunch with a friend, or I can do a few more chores, or I can do whatever needs to get done. I have free space here, which means I can do something for myself. I can have like a break in between the week. I have free space here before bed. Again, more like stuff where I can like plan time with a friend or something like that. Radar is going to take up a chunk of the day, but in between that I have breathing room. I have breathing room here. This everything shower can be moved. So like maybe I get brunch with a friend up here, or get an extra gym session in, and then I do my shower, and then I have my monthly meeting with my partner. These things are placed here, knowing that some of them are going to take like a half hour or an hour, and then you'll still have lots of flexibility in between them, right? So like if I go to the gym at 6 a.m., I still have like a whole hour and a half before I have to get to work. Like, what can I get done? Can I plan my day? Can I do, other stuff that you are going to be thinking about on a more weekly, granular basis? That's what you're going to think about when you come into your week. But when we're thinking about our bi-weekly schedule, we're just trying to think about the things that are the highest priority, that need to get done on a routine basis, and that really don't take up much time, but that if we don't do them, we will, maybe our lives will collapse, not to be dramatic, but it is going to be helpful to sort of see time with a little bit more sort of expansion when you do a bi-weekly schedule.
So that's everything that goes into creating a bi-weekly schedule. And I hope you guys got some good tips and tricks from this video. If you guys are going to try living on a bi-weekly timeline, let me know down below. Does it create more space for you? Do you feel more free? Do you feel more open? Or does it feel just as crowded as before? And remember, if it feels just as crowded as before, it's okay to revise again and try again, because this is your life. This is your schedule. It doesn't have to look like anybody else's. It doesn't have to look like mine. It doesn't have to meet some arbitrary definition of what a good weekly schedule or bi-weekly schedule looks like. It just has to feel like you're living the life you want to live, and you're living it with ease. So I hope this video helped. Again, let me know down in the comments below. If you have made it this far in the video, I cherish you so much. Thank you for watching and for being subscribed and for generally being awesome. If you want to keep hanging out with me, I will have another sort of time-related video up here on the screen that you might like to check out, or you can follow me over on Instagram. I'm at Rachel in Theory over there. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.